Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy, Mr. Mike Zappy, out in San Antonio, Texas. Dallas Cowboys super fan, waiting for the Dallas Cowboys to make a super move. I am your host, Richie, New York Giants fanatico, and a mixed bag today, but I think the Giants had a good day one. We are going to be talking today about the explosion of day one NFL free agency. I just wanted to let the viewing audience know that gentleman behind me, number 27, is my favorite Giants running back of all time, Mr. Rodney Hampton. What I always appreciated about Mr. Hampton was, number one, if you thought Daniel Jones was a bad quarterback, you should have seen what this guy was making Pro Bowls with. Number two, he didn't miss a lot of games. Number three, he played in an era where, you can still hit the quarterback and be a little more violent. And number four, he was underpaid and really kicked some ass, and he was also a Super Bowl champion. Anyway, hi, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Wait, so Saquon is not your favorite running back?
Who?
Some guy that he and Tiki Barber have had a great relationship, especially over the last few hours today.
The only athlete in Philadelphia that I have any admiration for is Rocky Balboa and probably Jason Kelsey. Anyway, so there was a particular move regarding a Turnpike rivalry. Huge running back player movement headed by 2-6, leaving the Giants for the Eagles. Definitely a move driven by financial security. Zappy, what was the guaranteed money for those of us who did not see the guarantee on this? Because per year, the Giants actually made an offer bigger to 2-6.
It's $28 million guaranteed. We know it's a 3-year deal. What was it, $38 million? The contract can come out to a total of $46 million with the incentives if he hits those. So Philly definitely overpaid. And I mean, while I got to say, this sucks. Congratulations to the guy, because at the end of the day, this is a business. He bet on himself last year. He took, the three of them, Pollard, Jacobs, and Saquon, all signed their tags, all played, and all got paid, and they all got paid accordingly, in my opinion. The Giants may have overpaid a little. I mean, I'm sorry, the Giants. The Eagles may have overpaid a little bit, but it's just, you look at the quality of running back. Saquon was obviously the cream of the crop between all the free agents out there. And, he bet on himself. He got the bag. Congratulations. Financial stability, security, like you said. But as far as from a fan's perspective, I mean, what a slap in the face for the guy to go from the city he said he wanted to retire at. He's from the Bronx. The guy, this is worse than going to Dallas. This is a million times worse than going to Dallas. This is a major slap in the face by Saquon Barkley. And yes, we know he did it for the money, but you cannot tell me that the Texans or the Ravens or someone would have came a little closer. You can't tell me that he wouldn't have taken $2 million less to stay in New York. You can't tell me that, There's just a lot of factors into that one.
This was personal for Saquon Barkley because of the fact that in his eyes, he had a nice comeback year in 2022, which is all the way true. But I would like people to take into consideration that are watching this from the fans' perspective, if you're a Giant fan. Yeah, what was he? Was he coming back from 2020 or was he coming back from 2021 because he was useless both seasons? Who gets injured running off the field in between a play? Saquon Barkley does.
Or what's his name? Who gets injured running on the field?
I mean,
Super Bowl.
If it's going to be a non-contact injury, can it at least be during the play? Okay, so there's that. He wanted the Giants to invest in him after his performance in 2022. 10 rushing touchdowns. That's cool. That quarterback that everybody likes to shit on only trailed him by 3 touchdowns. That's number one. This is my thing with Saquon. Congratulations to him for getting the money. I'm a little salty tonight, as I feel like I have the right to be. But at the same time, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that, you have an opportunity for generational wealth and you get one opportunity, you take it. If there is any true issue I have with him from the character standpoint, and then we'll get to the football, is that when you have people that look up to you, that invest in you, that buy your merch, that think a lot of you, it's okay to be honest and say, hey, guys, I don't feel like I'm getting what I'm worth. Everybody deserves to get what they think they are worth. My issue is, sorry to interrupt. My issue is, don't bullshit people. Don't bullshit people by saying that you want to be a member of this organization for the remainder of your life on the football field. Less than a week ago. And on day one, go to the fucking enemy, a team that we despise, and say that it's not personal, because his feelings got hurt when he realized that the market was not what it was. But let's not forget, the New York Giants offered him more money last year during the 2022 bye week, 2 years ago rather, during the 2022 bye week, that a per year level superseded what the Eagles gave him. What did it for him, and you actually broke this down for me as well because I was a little heated, was the guaranteed money. Now, when I consider that Philly possibly does good here, is because you mentioned it could go all the way up to 44, 43?
46 million.
46 million. That ain't going to happen. This guy misses games. Let's get that out of the way. He misses games. He has, I would say that his chances of getting injured lessen because of the fact that even though they did lose future Hall of Fame center Jason Kelsey, the Eagles do have a quality offensive line. And I do believe that the Eagles are still going to incorporate a committee backfield with the addition of 2-6. They're going to do that. Having said that, on the flip side, from a responsibility level, I feel that when you're a team in transition, and when we all know that in the year 2024, unless if you are Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey, building a team around a running back is not the way in the most epic pass-happy era in professional football. I believe that it was like a stewing thing that went down. When your quarterback, who for the most part has underperformed up until 2022 when he had a bust-out year, gets your franchise a playoff victory, and yes, he was the player of that game. You have a new head coach who wins Coach of the Year in his rookie year. The market is not robust in terms of free agent quarterbacks, but the market, because of the Cleveland Browns giving Deshaun Watson the bag, was all up. What a lot of Giant fans don't understand is that the egregious thing with the Daniel Jones thing is that while that contract still could have looked a little more like the Baker Mayfield one, they still get off cheap after this year because there was an out and a provision in that contract after the second year when that started getting into effect. Daniel Jones is out. It was a point of contention amongst Saquon Barkley and his people that he should have got paid first. But what I want people to understand is the reason you could franchise a running back on the books and pay a lot less is because it would have been absurd if they would have franchised Daniel Jones last year. Because Daniel Jones would have been making close to $30 million last year on a franchise tag, whereas Saquon Barkley only cost the team $12 million. And yes, Daniel Jones missed more games than Saquon Barkley last year. He tore his knee. But when you're trying to convince an organization that they need to invest in you, and you miss the most integral part of the schedule, when you are folded like a lawn chair trying to run the clock out in a game that essentially was already won, it's kind of like getting injured when you're running off the field. I don't know. Personally, I wish him well in terms of health. I don't wish anybody bad, especially when it comes to health, because that's serious business. But I do think that from a character level and from a maturity level, Saquon Barkley is not exactly who I personally thought he was. I feel that, like many other athletes, it's almost like I feel that similar to politicians, they forget what they say. And they say whatever they think sounds good in the moment. A year ago when he was like, I could have been like, fuck the Giants. Bro, you get hurt every year. You finished one fucking season in your 5-year tenure with the New York Football Giants, and that was 2018. Look at the back of his trading card. He hasn't had a better season. I'm seeing Giant fans having aneurysms about, he's our best offensive player. And while that may be true, Andrew Thomas plays offense and he's an all-pro, so maybe that's not true. From a skill position level, okay, I hear you. He might be the best player on the team. But when your best player on the team is a running back, and when that running back is only responsible for averaging out for 5 to 6 wins a year since the year 2018, I think we'll be all right. You ain't Tiki, bro. And props to Tiki Barber for calling him out. I'm not saying that Tiki has the necessary right to tell a man how and where to make his money. But what I do appreciate about what Tiki did is that he called him out for being full of shit about giving a shit about his legacy or about being a part of the New York Football Giants. And you're not going to a better culture. Because while the Eagles might be a more talented team than the Giants right now, those are the same Philadelphia Eagles that were contemplating firing their head coach. And those are the same Philadelphia Eagles that quit. They literally quit and went into Tampa with their heads buried in their asses after catching a beating from the Giants. A Giants team that had nothing to play for. An Eagles team that had the world by the balls in early December until Deebo Samuel, the San Francisco 49ers, and Dre Greenlaw kicked the shit out of them and got their security guard fired for life. I'm done being a homer and I'm done being angry. The New York Giants flipped their day around. Devin Singletary is a decent pickup. You know what I like about him? The best ability is called availability, and he doesn't miss a lot of games. John Runyon Jr., interior lineman of the Green Bay Packers, is signed today. 3 years, $30 million, 17 guaranteed. He's another guy that doesn't miss a lot of football games. The move of the day, undeniably, even though I will admit that I do think it's a little pricey, bringing in Brian Burns in the center of his prime and giving a viable pass rusher, another viable pass rusher opposite of him, is going to be a strength of this team moving forward, especially now that they're moving to the 4-3, and that is also why they let Xavier McKinney go. Another guy that deserves $17 million a year because he has proven already in the past that the team is above everything else when we're busting our ass on ATVs during bye weeks.
I'm going to say it. Giants should have signed Saquon last year and tagged Daniel because now you are saying goodbye to both of them. That was the wrong move. Now he's gone to interdivision rival Philadelphia. He made Philadelphia strong again. I mean, that was the wrong move, and now we see that you guys are moving on from Daniel Jones.
While I agree it's the wrong move, I got to do one part of a history twist here. The wrong move was not picking up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option. Because if they would have done that, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to look into it. So, but Giants did make good moves. One of the biggest things that's been hurting this team has been the play of offensive line. We've seen them be quite as bad as the Commanders, for example. And that started week 1 with Dallas on Sunday Night Football.
That's the poorest offensive line that you're only allowed to blame if Daniel Jones plays like shit, right? Because that offensive line you're not allowed to bring up that offensive line or bring up the signature games that Saquon Barkley has had against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, right? I just want to ask because big players make big plays against their biggest rivals. That's how these legacies are built. That bald-headed dude that a lot of people hated that retired after 2006, he had signature games against the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles in an era where defense was played a lot differently and a lot more ferociously. Not so many non-contact injuries in that era. Go figure. Maybe they need to play a little more preseason games. Maybe they need to actually tackle each other at training camp. I don't know.
Jets just signed Javon Kinlaw.
Talk for a little while.
So anyway, I look at the Giants. You needed to go out there and get an edge rusher. I had told you, we were on the phone, and I said, hey, you guys are in negotiation with the Panthers, and about 7 minutes later, the news broke that you had made the trade for Brian Burns, and that was just a huge addition for a young defense because you need someone that can get to the quarterback. While Thibodeau, he's a good edge rusher. He reminds me more of a DeMarcus Lawrence, where he's going to be excellent against the run, and he's going to be an 8 to 10 sack guy every year. And yeah, he'll have 1 or 2 seasons where he gets double-digit sacks. Point being is you needed another guy that can actually get to the quarterback and is going to allow Thibodeau to grow even more. As we saw, Ojulari had not been very reliable the last couple of seasons. So this is a good move for the Giants as far as for Thibodeau and his growth and Brian Burns. And a lot of people are saying, well, Brian Burns fell off last year. I'm like, well, did they fall off, or is it because the Panthers fell off? And when your team is down by 35 points, down every week by the third quarter, it's hard for your defensive players to get sacks when the teams are running the ball against you in the second half.
He's still a young guy, and he's already got over 40 sacks on his career. I love the fact that this also opens up a scenario where even if you're going into some hybrid schemes on defense where you're given a lot of different looks, Ojulari could be preserved a little bit here too. You know what I'm saying? Where, any era of Giants football that was worth remembering in terms of grand success, you had triplets in 2 different ways. At D end, or in terms of your sack positions, and at the 3-headed monsters of running back, or at minimum a duo. And, in the year 2024, while I understand why Philly did it, I still believe in committee backfields. And I don't think you necessarily have to give a running back that kind of coin to win in this league. Isaiah Pacheco, he was on a rookie deal, and he's already been a vital part of winning a championship. I'm not sold. Last time the Eagles went on the spending bonanza, it didn't go their way. Also, last time the Eagles stole a marquee value running back, it was from your team. His name was DeMarco Murray, and that also didn't work out. I have reason to believe that Saquon Barkley is going to have a huge year 1 with this team. But the reality is that he's going to be 30 in 2.5 years. And I personally don't believe that after year 1, he's going to get any better. The Philadelphia Eagles have a good team, but I still think they have holes. And I do tend to believe that from a culture standpoint, I'm not just going to ignore that this team quit on that head coach last year. And I do question the character of what those guys have over there overall. I'm not going to question talent. A.J. Brown was like ready to get traded. What now? He sees 2-6 come in the building. He's buying back in, right? It's coming.
I mean, dude, you got to admit, the Eagles, even adding Bryce Huff, defensive end from the New York Jets, that was a good signing by them. And it's not an expensive one either. If you ask me, is Saquon better than DeAndre? 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. He what he brings to that team is something they haven't had since what?
Since the prime of
Mitchell?
The prime of Shady McCoy.
Or yeah, Shady, thank you.
The prime of Shady McCoy is the last time that they had a dynamic player like that. Like I said, I only feel that there's 2 running backs literally in this league right now that you could justify building your offense completely around. And they're 2 completely different backs. Derrick Henry is the throwback kind of player that is like the ferocity of a Brandon Jacobs, but the talent level of Earl Campbell, and it's like a little bit all in one, and he has his own skill set that he brings to it. And Christian McCaffrey goes without saying, the best pass catching back in the league. the best versatile back in the league. And you can make an argument that he's probably the best pass-throwing running back in the league as well, just the best athlete at the running back position in the league. And I do believe to a level that that's what kind of humored me with the Saquon thing, with certain narratives that he's such a great pass catcher. His greatest season in terms of receptions was year one, when a broken Eli Manning was constantly just checking down for self-preservation. And, it's just not the way in this era of football. I think revisiting both drafts, DJ and SB, you could have got Josh Allen, the linebacker, instead of DJ, and still got DJ at 17. And you also could have got Nick Chubb if you would have went with Quentin Nelson in round 1. Instead, Will Hernandez, I don't even know if he's still in the league. And Daniel Jones pretty soon is going to be holding somebody's clipboard. And Saquon Barkley is going to play his final prime years in Philadelphia, but I still don't believe that this makes them better than the San Francisco 49ers. That remains to be seen. I also don't think people realize the girth and the weight of losing a guy like Jason Kelce does to that entire O-line. But, we'll see. Philly's got talent. But it takes a team, and I got to see if these guys really band together. After what I saw last year, I'm not convinced.
No, and what I look at Philly right now is this is the perfect example of a team that's going all in, because going after Barkley was an out of character move. But you got to look at it that way. They brought back Brandon Graham. They have pieces, and then you go out and get Kellen Moore. Getting Saquon was actually very important for Kellen Moore to be successful in this system. And then getting Vic Fangio on your defensive coordinator. So, I'm keeping a close eye on this team right now. I'm keeping a very close eye on this team because, we talked about teams that would be going all in, or teams that Bill Belichick will be watching closely. The Eagles are one of those teams. And if they go all in, and if it doesn't work, then we know Sirianni's gone. We know all those guys are going to be gone, and that opens up the possibility for other coaches to come in. So I understand the move. This is frustrating me.
I can't see Belichick in that city. I could see him in Dallas. I could see him in Buffalo. If McDermott and McCarthy both fail again. Today was a big day for the running backs, and I got to say this. If Saquon felt disrespected in the past by the Giants, how the hell did this guy feel? Aaron Jones, man, when I think about how vital he was to Green Bay's playoff run, were it not for Andrews Carlson, that team's playing in the NFC title game last year against a Lions team that they matched up well with. This is a dude that scored 3 touchdowns against your Dallas Cowboys, one of the best defenses during the course of the year, uncharacteristically had that kind of rough day at the worst time. Aaron Jones, earlier in the day when I saw that they went in and got Josh Jacobs, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that they were looking to take a little weight off of Jones. Jones is a good pass catcher, and I figured it was going to be a 1-2 punch. About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, Aaron Jones is released. And I was just so disappointed with the Packers. I was like, damn, that guy gave you guys a lot. And availability. Aaron Jones, he didn't miss a lot of games. So when I think about something to feel some kind of way about it, I think I would be more upset if I actually know how many games I played. So, Aaron Jones is going to be a good fit for somebody. I actually thought about your Dallas Cowboys making a reach out to Aaron Jones because of the fact of his Texas roots. He was in AT&T in that playoff game last year, and he had a ton of family in the house. I don't know what your Cowboys are doing right now. It's interesting. I thought it's a weird situation because of the Dak Prescott variable. And that's why when Jerry was being so mouthy about we're going all the way in, I'm like, why are you saying that?
Well, then, like I told you guys yesterday, that video of him describing what going all in means, where if he's going to go all in and take one guy and pay him a buttload of money, or take 3 guys and pay them that money, he's going to take the 3 guys. So that's what's frustrating every single time. We're not going to get Aaron Jones. Even though he's got the Texas roots, he hates Dallas. He hates Dallas with a passion.
Well, most guys that love the Packers do.
We're not we're not offering running backs what they want. And this is the same thing that happened back with oh my gosh,
DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray.
So, it's we're not going to get Derrick Henry. He's going to get his 10 million per. It's going to be from the Ravens. If we get Henry, that's going to blow my mind. But, you can add Joe Mixon to the list of running backs that have been released. That's someone I think Dallas is going to look for, a guy that's past his prime, that's going to take less money, and then it's go to the draft. But as far as the running back goes, I mean, everyone got their bag. DeAndre Swift got paid. Tony Pollard, like you said, he gets a nice contract for him. Josh Jacobs, very similar contract. We knew Saquon was going to be the highest. Derrick Henry's going to be right there between the 13 to 8 million. I say 10 and a half, and he'll sign a 3-year deal.
Baltimore, in my genuine opinion, would be the perfect fit for a player like a Derrick Henry, because what I like about that idea is that you give your team the ability to put people away in crunch time when it's a 1-score differential or less than 1 touchdown. That's the Derrick Henry factor, where you could lean on people. And I also believe that while Lamar Jackson is coming off of an MVP caliber season, it is a little controversial that he won, because there were certain metrics on the passing end of his stats that people would be like, wait. But, Baltimore Ravens also were the best team in the NFL during the course of the regular season, so that also helped Lamar win that award. The point I'm making is, this is a young team on important parts of that roster. You have Zay Flowers that's going to come with a big monkey on his back after the way that his season ended and some of the integral mistakes that he made. I think a guy like a King Henry joining a team like that, if it comes to fruition, is kind of like the security blanket, the calming influence. And while you might be hurting at receiver after Flowers, still trying to find who's the true number 2, it didn't work out with OBJ, you have the best tight end combo in professional football, with the emerging Isaiah Likely backing up the perennial Pro Bowler who's coming off an injury, Mark Andrews. So, Ravens is still going to be very much a favorite to win next year. Austin Eckler, Commanders. I must admit that I was a little surprised that Eckler went that way. I honestly thought that Eckler was going to take a little more time to kind of survey around what it was. DeAndre Swift, Chicago Bears, to me makes a lot of sense. I don't care what any of these draft people are telling you. Justin Fields is not going anywhere. And I think it would behoove Chicago to trade out of that 1 spot. We talked about it just the other night. Singletary, what he brings to the G-Men, he's reliable. He's consistent. No, he's not going to be Saquon Barkley. And he has always served as a back that has shared the backfield with others. He did it in Buffalo. He did it in Houston. But last year, make no mistake, he was the Houston Texans' best running back. And, I'm not going to get mad about when I look at the value of the deal. I look at the amount of games he doesn't miss. And the guy is always flirting around 900 yards a year and will be implemented into the pass game. I'm curious to see if the New York Giants go in the route of, say, maybe a duo for Michigan. If you get the quarterback, why not have him bring his running back with him? I for one, think that Blake Corum and the McCarthy combo could be an interesting one for the Giants, because they are definitely more and more looking like they're going quarterback early. And I'm happy about the Burns trade, because now I don't think that there's going to be that pressure where you have to go linebacker in the draft. They did part with a 2nd and a 5th. They still have another 2nd. They still have their 3rd. That 3rd might have to be used to solidify the McCarthy deal. We'll see.
I want to see what happens with Higgins.
Yeah, let me ask you an honest question, Zappy. Joe Burrow's not going to be throwing him the ball, obviously, this year if they don't mend the fence in Cincy. Do you believe that he is truly a number 1 caliber receiver?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of T. Higgins.
I like him a lot, too.
The guy, I mean, look at how he played when Jamar Chase was out. He played great.
Yes.
He's shown many times that he can be a number 1 receiver. He's going to become a number 1 receiver. I've said I think they should let Jamar go and keep T. Higgins, because that means you're going to get to keep somebody else.
And I know you also alluded to off air an opinion of yours that you don't tend to believe that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are as close as they were in their college years.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, with winning fixes everything, but last year the season happened that I thought was going to happen, and you're breaking up the whole receiving core by keeping Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd is also a free agent. There's just I can't see them moving on from T. Higgins. If they do move on from him, it's going to be closer to draft day, and it's probably going to be close to their 23rd pick. Because while this draft is very deep at receiver, let's go with the assumption that there's a huge run on receivers, and all of a sudden they're left with, do we really want to take someone here at 23, or no? Let's keep T. Higgins. So there's a lot.
Well, just because he's not happy doesn't mean that they owe him a trade, and that's why I said even if the fence isn't all the way mended, at the end of the day, you want to play football. And the Cincinnati Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow are still a very good, talented football team that play in a very difficult division that any year you could pick any four of those teams. You had an idea for a potential trade. Talk to me.
Well, there's a team that I'm thinking about. Yesterday I was thinking about teams that are going to be bouncing back next year, and this is just going based off of the way the season ended. And to me, a team that's going to be, they were competitive, made the playoffs, and I think they're going to be even more competitive this year, that being the Los Angeles Rams. The two of their biggest needs right now are more on defense, and that's an edge rusher and a cornerback. And I look at an edge rusher out there that's available, was released today was not brought back by the Vikings, that being Danielle Hunter. You put him right there next to Aaron Donald, I think it helps improve that defense. And then you turn around and you trade your late first-round pick to a team like, the Chiefs, and let's go get L'Jarius Sneed. It's, that's just a trade that makes sense, and that's a trade that the Rams would do because we have seen them be the team that is not scared to trade away draft assets to go get a Super Bowl now. And their owner said he's going to take that approach again once they're back from the salary cap, and they have recouped that. Now they're back to be.
So you feel that the whole little franchise tag sitch is almost just like a placeholder, similar to what the Carolina Panthers did with Burns, ultimately trading him to my team.
Yeah, absolutely. But remember, with him, his is the exclusive franchise tag.
So it's going to be different. Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to be a little different in terms of what you get back, because that is a valid point and a valid thing to think about, because the Los Angeles Rams have not replaced Jalen Ramsey. And
that's another bit. That's why a guy like that, it makes complete sense, because if one thing we know is when they won that Super Bowl, Jalen Ramsey was very instrumental behind that defense, and we saw what Snead was for the Chiefs in this past Super Bowl and in the playoffs.
Dude, you remember how a couple of hours ago I was comedically playing around with you? How we both agreed that OBJ doesn't have much left in the tank, and I was kidding around and be like, oh, maybe he'll come back to us. And obviously we're not serious about that. He did leave on semi-good terms with the Los Angeles Rams. Puka Nacua, undeniably an ascension that nobody saw coming. Cooper Kupp, God willing he stays healthy, still a top 10 receiver in the league. Matthew Stafford played at a high level, which was a huge bounce back after an injury-marred season the year before. Kyron Williams at a Notre Dame, excellent running back, excellent character-level leader. Aaron Donald still playing at a high level, but he only has X amount of time left. So I guess I have to agree with you, Zappy, and say that this is the time for this Rams team to truly go all the way in if they are going to really make it happen and try to win one more championship with this core of players, because I was
36.
Yeah. He ain't no spring chicken, and he's got a lot of beatings that he took over the years. Not to mention other moves going on around the league, like his former team making a trade with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carlton Davis is now a member of the Detroit Lions. That was a position of need. He's going to be giving Jack Campbell some help over there now, as well as Anzalone, who's one of my personal favorites, just like the way he plays the game. Certain metrics of Anzalone's game remind me of two different players that both happen to play for the Arizona Cardinals at different times. I'm talking about Chuck Cecil, and I'm talking about the late Pat Tillman. Only day one, man, and obviously none of this gets inked until Wednesday. But I gotta say, man, I've been watching football for so many years, and I never recall a day where I saw so many name notoriety running backs just flying at the ratio that they were. It was insane. It was truly insane.
It's a new NFL. You have to remember that the owners are a lot different than what they were back 20, 25 years ago. Now, owners are not afraid to make these deals and make trades. This has been the busiest day one in NFL history.
I've never seen anything quite like it.
And not to mention when we have so many trades going on, it's the direction we're going. It's the absolute direction we're heading towards, more of the NBA style of NFL. It's going to be a lot more wheeling and dealing, things of that nature. It blows my mind what we saw today. I mean, it started and it just never stopped. And that's usually the case every year, but I mean, this was something different. And we still haven't even seen the safeties go off the board yet. That the safety market's probably going to really get hot tomorrow. So it's like, yeah, X said it, and now we figure out what everyone else is going to get paid. There's a lot that's going to be happening. There's still a lot of valuable free agents out there.
There are two guys that I'm happy for. Veteran journeyman quarterbacks that I'm happy for today. I'm happy for Jacoby Brissett going back to a place that he enjoyed being a part of the culture there, because I think the New England Patriots are on the uptick. They will be drafting a quarterback regardless, but I think Brissett's always been an excellent guy to have in a locker room. He knows how to be a teammate, how to be a teacher of the game, because a lot of great coaches are backup quarterbacks. I mean, look, you see them are great OCs. Gardner Minshew, this is a guy that is just so easy to root for. I'm happy that he is a Las Vegas Raider, and I do believe that he will have a legitimate opportunity to be the starter there, because while they still may draft at that position, he is a guy that's ready to play right now, and he's a guy that has proven that he has the aspirations to still keep fighting to be a starter in this league. And speaking of fighters, one of the classiest people that play in the NFL, Kirk Cousins, signing a deal that tops out $100 million with the Atlanta Falcons. You called this literally the other night, and you had some support with your what you were envisioning. I do believe that he has the ability to wake up an underachieving Falcon offense that has so many weapons that are not being used properly. But this is the thing, bro. You got the two-headed monster with Algier as well as Bijan. You have the enigma known as Kyle Pitts. I like to call him Evan Ingram 2.0. But my concern, if any, with Kirk Cousins is when you're 36 years old and you're coming off that ACL injury, the Achilles injury, similar to Aaron Rodgers, it is a little scary.
It is. Achilles injuries are not the same, as we're seeing players come back from them a lot faster. Medicine has advanced so much that that's not much of a worry anymore. Kirk Cousins is also scrambling around already and doing everything right. He looks ready to play. This is a great deal for Atlanta because, one, I asked you guys last night, $40 million. Does he get more than $40 million? Because I felt Daniel Jones was that part. And it was like, you're not going to pay him less than 40 because he's not worse than Daniel. Daniel should have never gotten 40. And so I was like, is he going to get 55? No, he's not up there in the premier. So 45 makes sense. 4-year, $180 million with the $100 million guaranteed. I mean, good job for the guy. I like this move because while, yeah, you talk about last year with Kyle Pitts, let's not forget Arthur Smith was not exactly a very good coach. This is a guy that you draft Bijan Robinson at 7 and don't use him.
Yeah, that was pretty absurd.
So it's, a move like this with the coaching staff that they have in place now, Bijan Robinson is doing backflips. He is going to explode from this. And you look at a guy like Kyle Pitts. I mean, we've seen throughout Kirk Cousins' career, tight ends, he loves them. We saw the connection he had with TJ Hawkinson. The guy, tight end is a very important thing. And I think this is going to allow Kyle Pitts to finally come out of his shell because now they finally have a quarterback that can throw the ball down the field. They still need to go get a receiver, and now that opens the door where they can go after a Malik Neighbors. They can go after a Rome Odunze. The Falcons are a team to watch out for now next year that they have added Kirk Cousins. And I asked you guys yesterday, what's the easiest way to the playoffs? By winning your division. And quite frankly, Falcons sounds a lot easier than the Vikings.
Well, and that's another thing too. So as a Giant fan, the reason I care about what veterans are going where is because I'm pleased that Gardner Minshew went to the Raiders because I think it lessens their probability that they're going to try to jump my team, for instance, for the services of McCarthy or another quarterback, because you got to assume that before pick 6, the big 3 are going to be gone. So these are things I pay attention to. What are the Denver Broncos going to do? They pose a threat to jump us, have to pay attention to the trajectory with them. You said it on last night's show.
Michael Penix. Michael Penix sounds like the guy that's going to Denver.
Shout out Shada Marley, huge New Orleans Saints fan. I was chopping it up with him today, and I gave him a suggestion as a good student behind Derek Carr to take all the time you need to come into the league after a horrific injury. Jordan Travis to the New Orleans Saints on the draft is something that I think makes an awful lot of sense.
Yeah, because you have Derek Carr there who's going to be there for a couple more years. He needs to go to a team that he does not need to play this year or next. He needs the time to, not because he doesn't have the ability to, but because he is coming off of a horrible injury that did set him back. So you want him to ease his way back into the NFL game. Yeah, he sees the speed in preseason and all, but this is a complete thing. And you hit on it yesterday. It's an ACC quarterback. But I like Jordan Travis because he's a pro-style quarterback. So, there's a lot of good variables with him. That going to a team like the Saints makes complete sense. Actually.
Bro, if he didn't get hurt, pro-style quarterback, I would have been salivating to get that guy in a Giant uniform.
He was once predicted to be a top 5 pick. That's what happened. That's what happened to the guy. That's the scary thing about the NFL. At any moment, it could just change on you.
Absolutely. Ask Bo Jackson. Ask David Wilson. Ask Michael Irvin. Ask Victor Cruz. There's plenty of guys that sadly their careers ended in a jiff, and even at a more serious level, guys like Stingley and guys like Mike Utley and guys like Dennis Byrd, the late Dennis Byrd. May he rest in peace. Packers releasing Aaron Jones. I want to hit on that, but I do want to ask you this. Gus Edwards, he played all 17 games last year with the Ravens. Now he's a member of the Los Angeles Chargers. I didn't see that move coming. What are your thoughts on
that? Remember who their head coach is now.
He's a Harbaugh. Not the same Harbaugh, but a Harbaugh.
Well, yeah, and if you think back to when Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers, who were his running backs? Well, Frank Gore was one of those guys. So Gus Edwards is that kind of running back. The signing makes sense because of who the head coach is. Let's just put it that way. It makes complete sense.
And you alluded to how you believe that if the Chargers don't go the route of wide receiver, that there is a possibility that they could go tight end. Once again, a big part of the Harbaugh's offenses. Because remember when he was doing it a decade or so ago before going to UM, when he had CK7 and before him Alex Smith, who was a tight end, it was Vernon Davis, but he was still playing at a Pro Bowl level. So I believe that, this is a deep tight end class as well. Like I had mentioned to you the other day that I want Darren Waller to friggin' make his mind up and tell us what he's doing, because I think even a player like a Jonnu Smith, who I thought was a rather economical deal, where he went to the Miami Dolphins, he could have been had. But this is a deep tight end class. While I have semi-faith in Daniel Bellinger, assuming that Darren Waller retires, and that's treated almost like dead money situation, like a release, I would prefer a Jatavian Sanders out of UT, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's still too early to talk draft. But
I know. Right now, it's like the roster is so different.
Yeah, right now I couldn't see a situation where you go quarterback first and then tight end second. I could see a quarterback first, maybe a defensive tackle second, a Tavondre Sweat out of Texas to pair next to Dexter Lawrence. That'd be something I could see happening. A receiver in the second, a running back in the second, Jonathan Brooks, for example. That I could see happening. But yeah, that's just the way, because of right now we're only into day one of the legal tampering period. It's too much right now. We're just frustrated.
No, I get it, because you're kind of handicapped because of the Dak situation. Aaron Jones, I know that he's linked to the Minnesota Vikings. I can understand that from a familiarity level, he plays in the North, but it's weird, man. It's like you played with such excellent quarterbacks in your career. You had the blessing of playing with Aaron Rodgers, four-time league MVP. Jordan Love is a superstar in the making right now, and he's still getting better and learning. And now you're going to a team, assuming that he signs the deal with Minnesota, that you really don't know what they're doing just yet. I actually thought that maybe the Vegas Raiders, being that guy that replaced him is in Green Bay, maybe he'll go replace him in Vegas. I thought that could have been a destination that possibly made sense.
Yeah, the Raiders came out today and said, what is his name, Zamir White, that he is their number one running back. I mean, he showed a lot of great things last year as a rookie.
He definitely had some moments. Okay, I mean, well, hell, what can I say? Right now it's Devin Singletary and Matt Breida. It's looking like, 2019 Buffalo in the house.
It's I would have liked to have seen. I mean, the Raiders going after Christian Wilkins. Good job. That's a
quality pickup
signing
as well.
Right there.
Raiders
definitely make noise. I like the getting Gardner Minshew. I mean, it puts pressure on Aiden O'Connell. I think he'll win the job. I've spoken to a couple of Raiders fans. They think that it's still Aiden O'Connell's job, and Gardner Minshew will be there in case crap hits the fan and he needs to come in and save it, kind of deal. Are they going to trade up for a quarterback? That is the question right now. Because I like the idea of Gardner Minshew throwing the ball to Devontae Adams. I love that idea. I think it would be a great idea. And yeah, I guess seeing Aaron Jones go to the Raiders does make sense, but we got to know what this team's identity is going to be. That's the important thing right now, and we kind of don't. Minnesota, I think they've got to trade. They got to trade for a quarterback. They're linked to Dallas for Trey Lance. Is that the answer? I don't think so.
God, no.
Is who can they go? They're linked to Sam Darnold. Is that a guy really?
No.
They're in a position because I think whatever they do is going to affect what happens with Justin Jefferson.
Jimmy Garoppolo, after he serves his 4-game suspension, could be a potential candidate. Not that I would want him, but he at least has, the ability to be a stopgap. Maybe, I don't know. I don't like the Minnesota situation right now.
The Vikings, what they need to do is waive Christian Darrisaw.
But if you're Justin Jefferson right now, you gotta think. Hell no, you don't want to stay. You don't even know who your quarterback is. And you're regarded as possibly the best receiver in professional football. I know that yesterday that was a point of contention amongst you and Idris forming an odd team. It was like when the Rock and Mankind decided to get together, and with the Rock and Sock connection, ultimately taking on. It doesn't matter. Okay, Dallas and Giant fans. I think Idris is starting to gradually trying to heal up with some of his Dallas fans that he did such a great job of winning over the course of the last couple of years. Gabe Davis, that one surprised me. We both agreed, not a day one signing caliber guy, but nonetheless, he got signed on day one. He's going to Duval, and he's going to be opposite Christian Kirk, and Calvin Ridley is out there now.
Yeah, that's the one I'm trying to figure out. What's a good spot for him? One team that I thought about was the Steelers. As we know, they are going to move on from Deontay Johnson. That's a spot I could see working out. It would actually help George Pickens as well, oddly enough. Another team that maybe the Raiders. go after and get another receiver in there to pair with Devontae Adams.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because this guy got a year-long ban for gambling, and then he goes to Vegas. It has all the sense in the world.
And the other one, I guess we have to find out what his value is. And why not the Chiefs?
Why not the Chiefs? That's a solid point too, because although the Chiefs did pull off another rabbit out, I don't think anybody was going to question the difficulty of how much they had to go through to get there, and that their roster on certain metrics was letting down Patrick Mahomes with a lot of drops and just guys who have not yet mastered the route tree. To answer your question, I think Calvin Ridley to Pittsburgh does have some value, does have some sense to it. It also wouldn't blow my mind if the New York Jets tried to make the numbers work to get him in there working with Aaron Rodgers.
I think the Jets have probably switched their focus to Bakhtiari now that he's been released.
Well, yeah, I knew that was coming if it came. But then again, he's another guy that's always hurt.
That's the thing. It's going to come down to his medicals. The Patriots is another team with Calvin Ridley. There's a lot of ties between the two right now that it looks like Calvin might go there. How it doesn't make sense because right now, similar situation. Who's their quarterback? Right now, it's Bailey Zappi.
I mean, in a month from now, it may very well be Drake May, Caleb Williams, maybe Jaden Daniels, maybe it's not going to be McCarthy. I mean, then again, the last time they went to Michigan, it worked out rather well. Wild day, bro. Wild day, and I don't know what to say today. It's a mixed bag for me as a fan. The one thing that I will say that I'm pleased about what my team's doing is that they are no longer lying to themselves about putting Band-Aids on previous problems. Investing in a 27-year-old running back when you only won 6 games last year, and by the time that contract is over, he's not going to be who he was. He's already shown signs of not being who he used to be. You let him go to a contender. I know certain Giant fans made some points about maybe, we could have got maybe a 5th for him, maybe a 5th and a 6th for him, something. But at the same time, hindsight's always 20/20 because at this time last year, I don't necessarily think Joe Shane was convinced that they couldn't have worked something out or that the market wouldn't have shit on Saquon, because I don't think anybody in the Giant building a month ago, so to speak, really thought that Saquon Barkley would be putting on Kelly Green. But, that's the business, and that's the way these things work.
Mm-hmm. Commanders adding another offensive lineman, Nick Allegretti, 3-year, $15 million. Commanders made some good moves today.
Well, you were very strong-minded in saying that you feel that the Commanders are going to be on the uptick. You feel that the Giants are going to be sitting in the basement this year. You feel that your team might actually be in third. I feel that on paper right now, Philly has the most talent. I don't have an issue acknowledging that. But like I said, most experts back when they went on the splurge was so wrong. I think when you're bringing in so many diverse personalities, it is imperative that they can work together for the common goal of the team, and also that they can deal with adversity. Last year, this collection of people showed us that they did not, and that there was a lot of finger pointing, and that Nick Sirianni damn near lost that locker room. So I'm just going to say stay tuned to that. Stay tuned on that one.
I hope so. Oh, God.
Yeah. One common bond that we have, besides both rooting for the University of Notre Dame, is that we both hate the Philadelphia Eagles with a passion. More so from a recent history standpoint, they have been a thorn in my side pretty much since Plaxico Burress shot himself and since Jeremy Shockey got injured. The solace I take is that, we got 4 and they got 1, and, they won in 17, but, the last time they won before that was against Vince Lombardi. So the Eagles, one thing I got to say, I am going to say this. you cannot be complacent when you're in the same division as the Philadelphia Eagles. That's one thing I will say, because Howie Roseman has done a hell of a job of manipulating the cap and not being afraid to do the little extras or cutting guys to bring them back on different deals. I don't think any team cuts players and brings them back more frequently than the Philadelphia Eagles. And, last year they did something unconventional to start the year where they were only rolling with 4 wide receivers on the active roster. You don't see that every day either.
Yeah, it's going to – oh, Eagles, Philly, how much I hate me.
I know. But the one solace in all of this that I'm going to take to go home with tonight is that there is a 97% chance that when the season ends, the season is going to end with an Eagles loss. Because
the season is going to end with an Eagle. No, that's actually not true. They could go 2-15, and their second win being the last game of the year.
Let me rephrase that. You can take solace in knowing that if the Philadelphia Eagles make the playoffs, put that percentage back on that, it's going to probably end in a loss.
There we go. I like that. I like that better.
I mean, bro, it took a grand set of circumstances for that to happen. And Corey Clement was not in balance, by the way, gentlemen.
Huh. Luis Rivera.
Yeah, he's a little angry. He's a little worked up.
I like that.
Thank you, Luis. I appreciate you. And I just don't want you to play with any flammables tonight. And I appreciate you hanging with us, man.
It's all right. So we have 3 minutes left. Tomorrow, what are things you're expecting to see? I personally, like I said, I think it's going to be the safeties that are going to start falling off. I really believe we're going to see Michael Gallup released, and I really believe we're going to see T. Higgins start being tied into a couple of teams. As far as my Cowboys, man, I want to first see us resign Tyron Smith.
Yeah, I mean,
you're really all in. You're not going into this.
I'll tell you what you don't want. You don't want him going to the Washington Commanders.
It could happen.
They are building that offensive line because that was the worst part of their team last year, in addition to, I'll be honest, bro, nothing but a world of respect for Ron Rivera. But it's such a difficult business coaching. And I think Ron Rivera, even going back to the previous year, 2022, with not knowing what the tiebreaker scenarios were in the standings, I think he just was tired of coaching. He's like, I'm done with this shit.
Ooh, you're going to like this one. You ready for it? This one I like. Tyrod Taylor has agreed to sign with New York.
Good.
Jets, Jets.
You fucking asshole. You for real?
Yep. He is the backup in New York, but with the Jets.
Well, we got Tommy DeVito.
You got Tommy. You're drafting a quarterback, sir.
But
your first pick is quarterback.
I know that. Before we get out of here, I know you're a little disappointed because of the limited spending ability of your Dallas Cowboys. You sarcastically mentioned maybe you'll bring in Joe Mixon, and I sarcastically replied, well, I mean, it would make sense.
Well, it's pretty clear. I mean, Tony Pollard got signed for $8 million per, and we weren't offering him that. Zach Moss gets signed for $4 million per, and we weren't offering him that. Dallas is looking for – this is what we do every year. We look for the guys that are older in their careers, past their prime. This is going to be the consolation prize, is a Joe Mixon, a guy who can do everything Dallas needs, but he's way beyond his prime. You know, it's going to be, well, you know, there's only so much of the pie we can give out. It's going to be the same stuff. We were doing our due diligence, but we just couldn't afford guys like Saquon and Derrick Henry. They were just out of our price range. Joe Mixon is a guy that can come into that offense. Is he going to make us a potent offense? Absolutely not. It's clear we're going to bring in a veteran like that, and then we're going to be attacking the draft. I'm looking at Jonathan Brooks hard. I'm looking at him very hard in the second round, possibly the first round, if you can solidify your offensive line before the draft.
10 seconds. What I love about what I saw today all over socials, many of my fan base literally proved how long they've been fans when they were putting 2-6 on such a pedestal. My God, how our standards have dropped. For Mike Zappy, I am Richie Hicks. We are out. And you know what keeps us warm at night? Our 9 Lombardies.